As Johnny mentioned, our own Elle helps me, actually, because I'm the one who helps the students compose their Divrei Torah. She works on their presentation skills, and it's really great. And I've shared with her, and I share actually with the students and anyone who wants to know, that I also have a coach. Her name is Marla, and her husband's in the hospital ailing right now, and so I dedicate this talk about our Israel trip to him and hope that he has a healing. And the first thing that Marla always asks me when I'm putting together a Devar Torah, she says, what is the message? And you have to give it to me, ideally in less than 10 words, but really no more than 20. And I hem and haw, and we sit there, and she is shorter and shorter. So what's today's message? Keep far away from simple answers, and every one of us can do something for Israel and for further peace. I looked back at my sermon from 2021, Parshat Shemini, which was Yom HaAtzmaut, and I brought up a story of Dwight Eisenhower touring, obviously only as a general at the time, touring the concentration camps. And he told everyone with a camera and a pencil there, you must write down what you see, you must take every picture you possibly can. The world is going to forget this in a moment. And we know what happened. And we also discovered, and I discovered personally on my trip, that the world has forgotten October 7th. You go down to what's in Hebrew, the Otef Gaza, the Gaza envelope. I kind of think of a picture of a little bit of an envelope. And it's gorgeous right now. It is after the winter rains, it's not hot yet, and it's just paradise. I now know why people rush to move down there, because it's beautiful. And what Israel does always, whenever there is a tragedy, they clean it up right away. They took all the cars and put them into a dumpster. And we actually went to see that dumpster. But on the road, unless you're feeling for the grooves that the tanks left, you would never know that October 7th happened. And unfortunately, our news agencies have also done that, because there's no pictures to take anymore. They're going to show them a paradise, and we obviously know what they're showing on the other side of the border. But our trip was not about seeing. It was about talking. And if you talk to each and every Israeli person, whether they are Jewish or not, there is pain right here. It is still there, and they will tell you about it. I spent my week dreaming that even the Israeli news could take a day, every day, and just talk to a family and have them tell their story. And you would have years in order for it to do that. But it would actually be cathartic. Whether you were actively participating or part of October 7th, or now you are in the reserves, or wherever you are, they were touched by October 7th. Israel was permanently changed, and the trauma is still there because this chapter is not over. We don't know how to reflect it. We don't know how to make the meaning that needs to happen. I don't have the ability or the expertise or obviously the power to work on the macro level of this crisis. I can't say ceasefire now, negotiate now, go and continue to fight into Rafiach, which is the Hebrew term for Rafah. I can't do that. But what I did discover is that Israel also works on a person-to-person level, micro level. And that is a beautiful thing. And that's where the seeds of hope. Everywhere we went, we discovered that since even the first hours of October 7th, when people like Gidon Alon went down in his own car, he's a medic with a friend, ostensibly to save his friend David Newman, who in the end he wasn't able to. And when he arrived there, the army people that were already there said, "You're a medic? Good, come and join us." And he spent the next 18 hours saving lives, setting up triage centers. There was no general telling him to do this. There was no hospital coordinating this. This was just people who on their own said, we have to just do something. And actually, that is their motto now. Go do something. Everybody can do something. We discovered that the diverse population of Israel realizes they are all in this together. If you are a Bedouin and not Jewish, Hamas doesn't check your ID. If you're a Palestinian living inside Israel, Hamas doesn't check your ID. If you're a Haredi, if you're secular, Hamas doesn't question what kind of Jew you are. They are going to get you. And so we discovered that at least on a micro level, more people than you think understand this. And yes, there's a lot of politics and other issues that make it hard to solve this on a grand scale. Don't have time to go through that. But we can be inspired by the people who in Rahat, the Bedouin town, that some of the Bedouins that were in the Outaf Gaza, this is right nearby, went in their cars, drove into the Nova site, picked up people to save them, brought them to this Bedouin village, and put them there for safety. And didn't do it just once, didn't do it just twice, maybe 3-4 times, as many times as their gas and the ability to feel at least a little safe in order to do it. There was no checking of IDs, are you Jewish or not Jewish? And we went there and spoke to the Bedouins, and they said, we want to be part of Israeli society. We need a little equity here. We need our schools to be as good as the Jewish schools. And so we drove home from there saying, wouldn't it be great if some new person said, I'm going to create a non-governmental organization to work on the education of the Bedouin. We can dream. The Haredim, they're still debating right now. Actually, Knesset's taking off Pesach. Sounds familiar. But before that, they were debating and stalemating on whether the Haredi should serve in the IDF. The numbers game says that they have to. If Israel is going to defend itself against Hezbollah, against Hamas, then the Haredi, who are part of the community, need to serve. And already there are some Haredim who are doing so at great risk. Because if they go in the army and the rabbis know, then their sister might not be able to get a match. And yes, there are even rabbis who understand that the Haredi need to serve. But again, getting into the macro, it's not so easy. You need a full, complete consensus. And then even in the Palestinian community, we had the ability to Zoom with a Palestinian. We don't even know his real name, and he couldn't show us his face. And he connected with an Israeli who was not in uniform. Actually, the Israeli had come to give some aid. And actually, in the West Bank, if you are seen even taking aid from an Israeli Jew, you're putting your life in danger. And he had coffee with this Israeli, and he continued to learn about Israeli Jewish culture, and they were humanized to him. And Hamas, he realized, are dehumanizers. And so he wants to make peace and live with the Jews of Israel. But yet, he cannot show his face at the moment. Why? Because Hamas still exists. And so we asked him, a Palestinian, what is the key to peace? And he said, getting rid of Hamas. He agrees with us. And so it made me feel a little bit better. And even the Arabs inside of Israel, I learned that they're afraid to vote. Israel is not committing genocide, and they actually have the right to vote. But just sort of this communal culture will not let them accept that they're living in Israel. Even though they themselves, if you talk to them personally, they'll say, yeah, I'm living in Israel. I'm working in the hospital. I'm treating their wounded soldiers, treating them like my own children. We saw that. These are all decent human beings. So again, none of us here probably can answer that macro piece. And it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time before every single Arab Israeli feels comfortable to vote. But if all of us just did something, goes and does something, gives money, tries to support an Arab Israeli who's trying to run for election, whatever it is, and most importantly, go to Israel. I know some people say, oh, it's not so safe. We felt even safer in Israel. If you're going to tour, fine. Tourist things are open. And the soldiers all told us, yes, it feels weird when they go into Gaza and fight at night, cross the border, and they're having a coffee with somebody the next day. It feels weird. And it feels weird for Israelis to be doing that, knowing what's happening an hour away by car. But every soldier we spoke to said, that's what I'm fighting for. They are fighting for Israel to have regular life. And part of regular life is for us, American non-Israeli Jews, to go and visit. And so I really do encourage you. I know it's not cheap, but if you have the wherewithal to go and visit Israel, I think you should do it. In the words of Gidon, just go and do something. Maybe don't worry about how daunting the task is, because we reminded ourselves while we were picking Swiss chard on this 200-yard-long greenhouse, where after just a couple minutes, our backs were breaking. We're like, who does farm work? Not us. And it felt like we made no dent. And then we started to sing the song, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. It's not upon us to finish the task, V'lo ata ben chorin lihibatel mimena. But you cannot desist from starting it. And so I encourage each and every one of us to start a task. Find something to do, no matter how little it is, because together, when you get 13 people facing such charge, you get a whole room of people giving money, giving time, giving of their ideas to the state of Israel and the Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. We will finish the task, God willing. Shabbat Shalom.